Time to check in on the top business story of the day. Jameson Berkow joining us from BNN. We've been talking about this back and forth between Alberta and BC. Alberta Premier Rachel Notley decided to hit BC where it hurt.
Well, and they could hit them even harder still, Anne-Marie. So there's perhaps a few more barbs to be traded across the Rockies here. Because, I mean, this is just trade war 101 happening here, where one side does something the other side doesn't like, so the other side retaliates, and then we're now seeing the possibility of BC retaliating against that retaliation, and that is a dangerous cycle in which we now find ourselves. So
what are some possible scenarios then? Because Rachel Notley banned BC wines coming into Alberta. That's a $70 million industry back and forth between BC and Alberta. It's their #1 consumer of wine outside of the province.
Right, and of course, those of us in Ontario are watching this thinking like, well, we didn't do anything to BC. Why can't we get BC wine? But putting that aside, the difficulty is that there's a $32 billion trading relationship at stake here. And we could see BC take any number of actions. You know, they sell Alberta about $250 million worth of live animals, mostly hogs, per year. All of a sudden, if Albertans can't get their bacon with their eggs in the morning, that might be a difficulty for them. But that's the problem, right, is it's hitting, like with this wine issue, that's hitting wineries, regular working people who don't really have a dog in this fight over the pipeline, at least broadly speaking, don't. And so you really start to recognize that this is hitting regular people who are not at fault here. And that's why this needs to be resolved as quickly as possible. So the federal government is really where we're putting our focus now, seeing how they're going to resolve this. I mean, this is one of the key reasons the federal government exists in the first place, Anne-Marie, to try and settle these types of disputes before
But aren't they busy trying to do other trade negotiations like NAFTA?
They are doing that. The hope, of course, is that the federal government can do, you know, walk and chew gum at the same time. But I guess we'll have to find out whether or not that's possible. We actually are expecting an announcement in Calgary from the Federal Natural Resources Minister tomorrow that's supposed to be related to overhauling pipeline reviews. So if that is the case, whether that will maybe appease the BC government in their original complaint, because essentially if BC backs down from their proposed regulations that would imperil the Trans Mountain pipeline expansion, arguably Alberta would be satisfied with that and would drop all of the issues that they have raised. But we would have to see action from the federal government before that would happen. And until then, as I mentioned, $32 billion worth of trade in jeopardy, and imperiled every day that we don't have a solution to this, all the more. In fact, that's going to be my focus at BNN today. It's going to be what BC might do to retaliate against this retaliation as we get deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole of this trade war.
We'll be watching throughout the day for that. Jameson, thanks so much.
It's my pleasure, Anne-Marie.